I was leadership for Air Force CGOC in like 2015. So this feels kind of like a full circle moment for me. I have a few things that are on my mind, and then I figure we can just open it up for questions to see what you all are thinking about. For those who don't know me, Amanda Pelkowski, I am the commander of the first Special Operations Force Support Squadron down here at Hurlburt. It's been an incredible journey. Just hit 1 year in command here. Hurlburt is absolutely awesome. I am an Air Force Academy graduate. I have been to Shepherd, Turkey, um, Hawaii, Hickam, Shaw, the Pentagon, Bellows, Hawaii again. So a quarter of my career has been fortunate enough to be in Hawaii, and now here at Hurlburt. Deployments to Iraq as an air advisor, a year in Afghanistan with the Army for a task force that led detention operations and rule of law in the theater. And then my first Air Force-ish deployment was to UAE as the FSS deployed OPSO. So that was pretty amazing. It's been a great career. I've really enjoyed it. It's been one big adventure. So I have some slides because I'm visual. Let's see if I can work on my team skills. We haven't done as much teams here as I thought that we would. 1 second. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Not of Hawaii, but of slides. Yes.
Yes, we can see your
Okay.
slides and we can still see you
Okay,
as
good.
well.
I have two screens. So just making sure that y'all aren't looking at my other one. Okay, so I figured today we'd go through some things that I knew, things that I wish I knew as a CGO, personal and professionally, and then just some things that have worked for me. So we'll just get started. Big thing, knock out your requirements as soon as possible. I know people harp on it often, but they are not joking about it. Get your master's degree done as soon as you are able. If you have something that you want to study, knock it out. The benefit of it is that your commitment might not line up, so it extends you out. So I didn't start mine as soon as some of my peers, and they actually aligned their master's degree exactly with their academy commitment, so they are able to get another free degree and then not have time added onto it. For me, when I started, you needed your master's degree to pin on major. They took it away and they said, now you don't need it for '06, but you never know when the requirement will ebb and flow. So my recommendation is get it done as soon as possible. I'm applying to be an ROTC deck commander, and you need to have your master's degree. So try not to self-eliminate by not having those requirements done. And as soon as you're able to get professional development for your rank done, get it done. And this is going to apply more so to when you're a major and when you're a lieutenant colonel. So the ID, SD, as soon as you find out you are a select, get the correspondence piece started. I know they say that you're not supposed to, they don't want you to necessarily do the correspondence before you go to your course, but by getting the correspondence done ahead of time, it opens the aperture for you to go to the legislative fellows, the working with the State Department, working all the fun ones where you would have to do it in correspondence anyway. So just knock it out is the lesson. My friend has always dragged me into making sure that I meet that requirement, because sometimes I procrastinate it because it's hard to do. It's hard to have a full-time job and do school in your off time. And she's always drugged me kicking and screaming through this requirement. And I absolutely appreciate her for that. Next, presence matters when you're a CGO. Like, it is so easy to get tied to your desk. There's so many emails, just a lot of taskers to do. Don't do that. Like, make time, be out with your people, make sure that you are taking time to understand their job, knowing them, knowing their family, show up to events. If your airmen are doing something hard, for example, we had the F-35s deploy for the first time out to UAE, and we were figuring out flight meals. My airmen had to have them ready to go at 3:30, and I was there with them just to make sure that you have that top cover. So if your airmen are doing something hard, make sure you roll up your sleeves and you are there with them. I recommend at least circling the wagons with your team at least once a week for a staff meeting, and then meeting with your team members one-on-one. I have 10 flights, and I meet with each flight every other week. And the ones that are having more just either trouble areas or they just have a lot more going on, we are meeting every single week. And then my boss does the same for me. So I call it a forcing function meeting, where because your team has that deadline to get there, to meet with you to show progress, it makes them actually get the moving started. And then last, aggressive follow-up. I would love to trust that every single thing that I say, people will follow up and do. And sometimes you have the really proactive people and they get you exactly what you need as soon as you say you need it, and then they get it for you that afternoon. And some people forget about it, some people procrastinate, and some people just let it slide. So make sure that you have aggressive follow-up so that the ball keeps moving. Every time I have trusted that someone is going to get it done and given them space, and it's been maybe a minute or two, they have kind of procrastinated and dropped the ball. So that is one of my biggest lessons. Just write it down and get status updates. Things personal that I wish I knew as a CGO, save your money where you can instead of buying a full. I graduated the Air Force Academy and we don't have any furniture or anything. I bought a full 2-bedroom house full of things. Like I bought all of the dishes, all of the furniture, everything. I didn't even have a roommate, but for some reason in my mind, like I needed a full set of stuff. And obviously there are different situations for everybody. Some people have kids, some people are married, completely different. I was single and I felt that I needed to have a full everything. It is so much easier to move around as a CGO, to experience different areas to live if you can travel light with your bed and minimal furniture. And then for me, lesson learned, I just bought so many clothes that I didn't need, just like a full closet full of stuff. And I only wear civilian clothes on the weekend. So I've really taken the time to pivot to just having what I need and saving that money so I can go on trips and have the experiences, because I really don't need a full closet of clothes. Next, dive into where you are stationed. My first duty station, Shepherd Air Force Base, and I will tell you what, I was not happy about it. They at the academy, they kind of rack and stack you based on your order of merit. And while I was not the smartest, I was just about top half. And my friend, who had barely graduated, walked onto the field with her diploma because they had to change her degree at the ninth hour. She got to go to Travis. So I was pretty bummed about it. And I spent a lot of time just kind of pouting and like, I can't believe I'm here. This sucks. And I didn't do any of the Texas stuff. So I use my friend Chelsea as an example. She followed a fighter pilot. She's civilian, speech therapist, and she followed her boyfriend, who was a fighter pilot at the time, to the middle of nowhere, Minnesota. And instead of her pouting like me that she's in the middle of nowhere and has nothing to do, she did all of the Minnesota things. She learned how to ski. She took up ice curling and ice fishing, just totally embraced everything that was Minnesota. Because next thing you know, you are on to the next and on to the next, and you are going to be in places that you never thought. So you might as well dive in and enjoy. Everything is temporary. So just find out, like if you're in North Dakota, like what do they do in North Dakota? Like just embrace it. It's going to be over before you know it, and you will be on to the next. And then finally, adulting is hard. and making friends is also hard. It's hard to my biggest transition coming from the academy, like I didn't realize how difficult it was to go to work all day. Like you're kind of it's hard. 9 hours at your desk, people need you. And it was a bit of a hard transition for me. Luckily caffeine helped and I get used to it. But then hard it was also hard transitioning, finding friends. Like at the academy, your friends are given to you. Like you live with your peers. And then I had gone on to short tours where all of in Turkey, like all of your friends are in the same neighborhood. And then I get to Hawaii and I was like, how do I find friends? Nobody is here. I don't know what to do. So I would say get comfortable with doing stuff by yourself, putting yourself out there, unless you're okay being by yourself. That's not me. I'm an extrovert, clearly. I like to talk to people. I It was very difficult for me to like put myself out there, but as soon as I did in Hawaii, I was able to find friends, find my people, and I just recommend that to everybody else instead of just waiting for friends to be provided for you. And then some things that have worked for me along the way. I've had I'm a pretty positive person. I always had a good attitude. Sometimes there's swearing behind closed doors, but I'm always here to show up and do the best I can and help out where I can. So a good attitude will get you really far if you are the person who is volunteering for things that people don't want to do, and sometimes you just take the crappy jobs. That will really get you far. They say. Bloom where you're planted. That was the first thing I was told as a lieutenant, because you really have no control on your job. Like maybe you got the AFSC you wanted, maybe you didn't. And maybe you are just learning, sacrificing. Maybe you got the base you wanted, maybe you didn't. And you don't really get to choose where you start. So I recommend, like, wherever you are put, just embrace it and be the absolute best that you can in that arena. Next, networking. Networking is everything. Like it is all who you know, who can help you with something you're not expect as an officer, you have such a broad portfolio. But if you're not expected to know everything, but you're expected to know who to call for help. And as soon as you start meeting people across the other squadrons, across the bases, you will find that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There is somebody that has done the thing that you were going through before, or can at least help you talk through it. So, and especially as you go up in rank, I made friends with all of the operations officers at Shaw, and we would have lunch once a month, and we were able to get so much work done on behalf of our commanders, like preventing stuff from boiling up, because we had a network. We knew who to call and we were able to problem solve. The easiest way to not get out of state to stay in shape is to not get out of shape. As an officer, you are expected to be the example. Make sure that you are moving your body, make sure that you're staying in shape and making sure you're taking care of yourself, because you're expected to for your airmen. And my standard is, if you are able to kick people out of the military because they are not able to meet their PT standards, you need to make sure that you are meeting the same standards. So for me, for a female, it has always been, can you pass the 18-year-old male PT test? You don't have to ace it, but can you pass it? Because I can kick people out because they are not making it. So it's kind of hypocritical if I can't pass it myself. Next, ask questions, be curious, especially if you are younger in rank. You get to ask all the questions you want, and people won't roll their eyes or like expect you to know it. So dig in to your jobs, ask the questions, ask why. Don't just assume that something is right because it has been this way. You have an outside perspective, use it. Like if something seems kind of wonky, question it. And that goes into trusting your gut. It takes time to get used to hearing like that. Just for me, I always describe it as like it's like a burning in my stomach, where you just kind of know, like, hey, this seems kind of weird or different. But it takes a while to be able to trust yourself to know that it's right. An example: I was working at the Pentagon in the E ring, which means I was working for top top in the Air Force, and I had some paperwork come across my desk, and the formatting seemed wrong. There seemed to be missing questions, but it was from an SES, and they'd been in the job for a long time, and it's a general officer equivalent for a civilian, if you didn't know that. And I was like, no, they totally know what they're doing. I'm just going to pass it to my boss. And my boss had all of the same questions that I did. And she made all of these corrections that I could have done on the first part if I had just pushed back and asked the question. So sometimes just because something has been done a certain way before, or just because it's from somebody who's high ranking, doesn't mean that it's necessarily the right way. So if you see something that seems odd, just ask the question, and maybe you might end up being right. I believe in doing the hard thing, and putting in the work, especially as a CGO. Like, it is your time to hustle. It is your time to learn your job, to be the best at your job. But know that there will be a season where you are going to grind and have long hours, and then there is going to be a season when you leave on time. When I was a second lieutenant, I wanted to stay at work as long as I could because I was just trying. I was motivated and ready to go, and my boss would kick me out at 4:30 every day, like, there will be enough time for this when you are higher up in rank. Like, go home. You will always have more things to do in a day than you will be able to do, so you need to learn how to prioritize and know when to turn it off, if and at least for your sanity. I found during COVID all kinds of especially at the Pentagon, because we've all figured out how to learn teams, like, all kinds of boundaries for work life were being broken. They were having meetings at like 9:30 at night, and it was just wild. So know when when you have to bring work home, know when you have to work late, and then know when there is the time to rest and not think about work so that you can keep your sanity. And then last, always take care of your team. Be the top cover, no matter what position you are in. You are going to be the conduit between your team and the boss. So make sure that you know what they're doing, know how to defend them, and know how to kind of be the BS cover from the boss, because there's going to be a lot of taskers and stuff coming at you. Like, if you can filter it down so that your team is able to do the work and focus on themselves, that will be better for everybody. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen. That is my spiel. I would love to hear what you all have on your minds. And if you could turn on your camera, that'd be awesome. It's kind of awkward to just like talk to faces that aren't moving, if that's okay. Any questions? Anything on your mind?
Hi, ma'am. So
Hi.
starting out, first of all, thank you for hosting this for CGO. We really appreciate it, and congratulations on your commandiversary.
Thank
Um,
you.
I was curious, what will be the one advice you give us as far as just making sure as we do climb the ranks that we are meeting our commander's intent and that each year we have something different growth-wise to put on our OPBs?
Can you ask that question one more time, a different way? Like,
Yeah. So as we go through the ranks, second lieutenants, first lieutenants, and captains, right? Each commander may have something different, or we may be stuck in the same job depending on where we work. What's
yes,
something that we can do to stand out year after year just to make sure we are growing, even if we are in the same position?
that is a great question, so that you don't have the same evaluation over and over and over again. I would say make sure just volunteer for things. There's always going to be something going on at the wing or at your group. Keep volunteering, and then if you find yourself in the same position, you don't find that those opportunities are everywhere, what can you do outside of work to be a leader? Like, example, you can participate in Boys and Girls Club, Habitat for Humanity. Get involved if you go to church, leadership roles there. You can do Boy Scouts. Like, there's all kinds of leadership roles that you can have outside of work if you find that they are not being provided. And I would ask your boss, like, if you can't find if you can't find anything, ask your boss and hopefully they can help you. It's definitely hard if you have the same evaluation over and over and over again.
Hi,
Hello.
ma'am.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Hi.
you go
Um,
ahead.
okay. Good morning, ma'am. I don't have a camera or else I would
That's
turn it
fine.
on.
No, totally fine.
But I'm not sure if you had already mentioned this, but I found out about you through Instagram as us Gen Z Gen Zers have. And so when I saw the call or when I saw the email, I was like, oh my God, I recognize that name. But okay, aside from that, thank you for being here and for your time. And I just wanted to ask about like work-life balance. Like since you do have like a social media page, of course not everyone has a social media page, but
Yeah.
like balancing your interests along with, having a full-time job.
Okay. Well, right now, I don't have a lot of free time. But I say that my hobby is command right now. But first of all, I believe that there's no such thing as work-life balance. And anytime people try and shove that down my throat, I get irritated because there's never any way that you're going to be able to do it all. Like if you are grinding at the job, like you might not get a ton of time with your family, or you might not be the best, most participated friend that you can find. So I would say find what are your priorities, right? Like sit back and assess and just pick a few. Like, what do you want to do in your personal life? Do you have bandwidth for this? And then what do you have to do for jobs? I love the concept of do both and doing what you have to do and then doing what you want to do. So I find that if it is a priority, you will make it a priority. When I'm not in jobs like this, I make time to travel a lot. I still try to squeeze it in where I can, but honestly, on the weekends, I'm really tired, and sometimes I have to rest. My husband asks me right now, on the weekends, he's like, "Do you want to take care of your physical health or do you want to take care of your mental health?" And then I decide from there. So if it's taking care of my physical health, we sleep in and we chill all weekend and we become what I call house trolls and we just hang out and chill. And if it's for my mental health, because I love traveling and exploring and seeing what there is to see, then we do that. But then I probably don't sleep in. So I would just say find what your priority is and then make it happen. Like I love Instagram. I love content creating. I love interacting with people on there. I love all of the incredible people that I've met, but I don't have enough time during the day to fully do what I want to do. But I try and make time where I can. So, like I will be on the stair climber getting in cardio and, on Instagram, so hands free there, or I will try and film a little bit if I have some time, but then like not put it together until a lot later. So I do make try and make time, but it's just not as much as I want. So I guess understanding that there will be the season where you get to have like a cool social life or you could have cool hobbies, and then sometimes it's just the quiet interlude where you have to like put your head down and grind. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, awesome.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Captain Usman Diallo from Langley Air Force Base. Sorry, I don't have a
Hi.
camera as well.
That's okay.
Yeah, I wanted to ask. So, of course, you're kind of Instagram famous, amongst Air Force officers. And I find that that's very unique. Like, going when I was going into ROTC, there's not much information or anyone out there to like look up to or see
Mhm.
what being in the military is like. So, first off, I appreciate that. Kudos to
Thank
you.
you.
And I wanted to ask, like, what inspired you, I guess, to go that content creation route? And then like showcase what life as a commander is like in the Air Force, and then as well, have you received any pushback from that? Because I remember, back in the day, there was this YouTuber Kyle Gott. He was a
Mhm.
staff sergeant, and I heard he got a lot of like pushback with the content creation. So have you experienced any of that? Thank you.
Absolutely. That was a multiple part question. So if I miss part of it, we can just remind me and I will answer it. We'll start at the have I gotten pushback from social media? I've had a really interesting background. I've never been anywhere at a base where there was pushback. So when at my first duty station, when Facebook finally had opened to everybody who wasn't necessarily a college student, my general officer told all of his O6s that you will be on Facebook, you will have your official page, and this is how you will push out information to your team. So I was raised that it's a great spot. It's a great spot to be. I was inspired. So I started just taking travel pictures. I love taking pictures. It's my souvenir. So I started just posting travel stuff. I've done a little bit of modeling on for fun, but not anymore. So I just loved taking pictures, being in pictures and all those things. So that's how I started. I didn't do a lot of military stuff until probably maybe like last year is when I really started doing it because I was afraid of the pushback. I'd seen other people, and I'll tell you what, the trolls on the internet can be really, really mean. If you ever get bored and you want to dig through like seeing the cesspool of people that are in society, like take a look at some of my stuff. They just say horrible things to me, but I I try not to take it to heart. I figure if you're spouting hate on the internet, there's probably something wrong in your personal life, and that's requiring you to do that because people who are happy and busy aren't. They're not typically doing that. So I try not to take it personal and respond to it. As far as what inspired more of the military stuff is kind of exactly what you said, like when you started there, that this wasn't really a thing, and there's still not a lot of people who are doing content creation, and I definitely didn't have this when I was a lieutenant, and I fully realized that. So I liked marketing, I like social media marketing. I realized that 40% of the military is under 25, and they're not doing like the old school paper marketing. Like, you need to meet people where they are at. They are on the internet. So that is how you reach people. That is how, like, if you're trying to recruit people to the military, they are on the internet. Like, they're not going to be looking at a flyer that's coming in the mail. Like, you have to constantly evolve. And once my account started growing, I wasn't fully sure when to tell my boss about it because I had just gotten here, and that's when had started really taking up speed. And then I ended up on the Airman NCO, Senior NCO page. My friend had sent me a screenshot, and I was like, oh my God, I am a commander. I am in so much trouble. I need to call my boss. I had called JA and PA ahead of time. And I was like, I think I'm okay. I think I've always been careful. I have friends who are PA officers, so they've always been giving me unofficial guidance. And they said, you're fine, don't worry about it. But I called my boss on a Saturday, and it was so awkward. I was like, ma'am, nobody's died. Because usually that's when I would call her on the weekend if somebody's died or something is broken. And I was like, I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to talk to you. I've ended up on the Air NCO page, and I don't like PA and JA say it's fine. And she's like, well, hold on, let me look at it. And then she looked, she's like, oh, don't even worry about it. This is great. I followed you. I've let the wing commander know, and just keep doing what you're doing and ignore the trolls. So that's been the guidance that I've gone on since then, because as much negative stuff as there is on the internet, I've found that it's really there's more positive that outweighs it. And I think it's important to tell your story. Everybody has a unique story. Everybody has a unique background. Just know your left and right limits on how you tell it, and then tell it, because I think the world should know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was an awesome response, ma'am. And I'm excited to see you as a ROTC DEP commander next year. Hopefully I can come work for you because I'll be on the next OIRSD board.
Oh my gosh,
Thank you.
fingers crossed. I would love that. I would love that so much. So keep putting those vibes out there for me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ma'am. We have a message in the chat. Someone wants
Oh,
to know if you
perfect.
can talk about any challenges you have had to overcome as a woman in the Air Force, and then how have you been able to make sure you have had your voice heard at the table, especially when it comes to environments who are stuck, not wanting to change and grow.
Oh, that's a great question. Things have definitely evolved and have changed in the 16 years that I've been in. Definitely for the better. I would say so at the academy, I was taught that as a woman, you have to show up and you have to work harder than everybody else to be taken seriously. So I've always had that in the back of my mind. At the academy, you get used to being the only woman in the room, even though when you sit back, it's kind of weird because society is not like that. I know in ROTC that might not necessarily be the case, so there's definitely a transition that comes with that, and then it just takes practice to be comfortable speaking up for yourself, to come into your leadership, just man or woman, like coming into your leadership style and being able to hold your own at the metaphorical table. People used to say horrible, horrible things to me. I had one, I still remember his name. I will not shout it out when he was a civilian. I was second lieutenant. I was 22 years old. And he's like, you need to start having kids before your eggs dry up. And I was like, what? Like, why did you just say that to me? Or people say like people won't take you seriously because of how you look. They try and tell you how to act. And there's like the military way, but I've always, thankfully, my leaders have always allowed me to be inherently myself. There's a time to be bubbly and happy and smiley, and then there's a time to be serious. You just need to know when to turn it off or on. See, more definitely a challenge as a woman. Sometimes being nice to people think you're hitting on them. And it wasn't necessarily like in the workplace, like on a base, but when I was deployed, because I'm the person who will always say hi to people. Like if you walk by me, I say hello. I'll ask how you're doing. I'm just a friendly person, and people would take my niceness as me liking that, like wanting to hook up or do something awful like that. And I was like, and it would always blow my mind. And I was like, but you're a staff sergeant, like what are you talking about? And it would always throw me off. So like that was difficult as well. When I was deployed to Afghanistan, there was only a few Air Force people and definitely only a few Air Force women, and it got so awkward in the dining facility because people would just stop and stare at me. So I just eventually stopped eating in the dining facility because people would just like have their tray. Yeah. And I was like, okay, like I just want to eat. Yes, hey, I'm a female. Yeah, I'm in the Air Force. It was too awkward. So sometimes you just need to find a battle buddy who can go through stuff with you, who you have to vent, and just make do around it. Does that answer your question? Kind of a roundabout way, or does it give any follow on?
Let's see if they drop anything else in the chat.
Okay, awesome. I see.
Oh,
I have a
she
chat
said
pulled up
yes,
now.
that answered her
Okay.
question.
If you ever have, and for any of you, like if you have any questions that you don't want to ask in front of the group, please shoot me an email. I'm happy to take some time on my calendar. It might take a month. It might take a month to schedule, but because my calendar is completely booked about 2 weeks out, but I am more than happy to talk you through stuff. It's really important to me to help grow the next generation because y'all are going to be the ones taking our places. So I'm more than happy to invest and put the time into you. I've had so many incredible supervisors and bosses who have invested into me. So this is me paying it forward. All right, next question. Who's got one?
And this is Chase Morris. Just trying to
Hi.
get my camera on here. I'll tell you, I'm just coming off leave and I did my run, so I'll be in regs here shortly.
Oh, it's
But
fine. Good for you.
no, I was just curious. I came back in after an 11-year gap. I don't have
Wow.
any of the socials.
That's fine.
So yeah, that was my question. As you move up, do you see that hindering, or do I need to put a conscious effort into creating like one that's just maybe for that?
It depends. I would say don't fake it. if it's not you, right? Like if you are not somebody that likes to put themselves out there, like don't do that because people will be able to smell a fake 100 miles away. But like find like if that's how you want to communicate to your unit, maybe like in a private group or something where like maybe you just put photos up of what's going on in your unit so that people can share with their family, maybe something on a more scalable small arena. I would pull your team and see like what exactly they would want from you.
Okay, I appreciate that. I've had
Yeah.
mixed feedback where it's like you need to have something, not
Oh,
necessarily. Excuse me, I'm getting over something as well, but
no worries.
not necessarily to post stuff out to people, but to actually just at least see what's going on, kind of keep tabs, so to speak. I just
You can
don't.
also have somebody who keeps tabs for you. Like I do not go on the Airman NCO senior NCO page, and then we have a bunch of marketing Facebook pages and Instagram for the squadron, and I have people who run them. So like just find somebody because I feel like if I was reading the Airman NCO senior NCO page just patrolling for hours at a time, like I would feel darkness in my soul. So
Yes, ma'am. That's why I
yeah,
got rid of it. I got so
yeah,
tired of that, like that feeling of just it starts to build up, and it's like, you know what? I always joke with people when I deleted my Facebook account, my happiness levels went up like 85%. So
yes, yes. I barely go on Facebook.
thank you, ma'am.
Yep.
Any other questions from around the room?
Yeah. I was gonna say we can stare at each other all day. And if there's not questions, I can talk a little bit more, or we can give everybody their morning back. Or evening, afternoon. Some of you are in Europe. Y'all let me know what you want.
Someone in the chat just said, thank you for being transparent with us. I do think having IG and seeing a commander like yourself just go and be so transparent does encourage us all to come to work and do our day to day. So we definitely want to say thank you for taking the time out to do this call with us.
Oh, absolutely. Transparency is the best way to do it. Sometimes you might not like what you hear, but I think it's just better to know things. I'm happy to take the time. Okay, y'all. Okay, you let me know. Okay. Any advice on making your OPB stand out and capturing the things you do over a year into 350 characters? Oh, that's so hard. I would say the things to highlight are anything you can put numbers to, people understand anything that is higher impact. And then as an officer, you need to focus on the leadership part. So like being a doer might not necessarily translate as well. So anywhere you can showcase leadership is most helpful. And if there's anything you can quantify, that's great. And if you can tie what you do into at minimum your wing mission, that will definitely make you stand out. But yes, I always hate evaluation time. I mean, it's nicer now that we can write sentences instead of bullets, but it is always so hard for me to capture like what I've done. So if you can keep track of things that you do in a Word document or over the year, it helps summarize it as well. It takes like a few extra minutes on your end as you do them to record it, but it helps you compile things at the end. I'll ask you all a question. What are some of the challenges that you're facing right now? Imposter syndrome. That's fair. Everybody gets that. I think it's one of those things where you step into when you're put into a big role and you just might not necessarily feel prepared. Just know that it's totally normal. But I promise that you are not placed, you didn't just wake up and stumble into that position or role on accident. The someone has deemed you capable of doing it. Every big role that I've stepped in to, like, as it's happening, and you have like the moment of like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Like coming from the bellows commander where I had 130 people to now I have 626. And it was just such a daunting feeling to know that I have that many people depending on me. And the Air Force is just kind of like, all right, time to go, time to figure it out. Like you don't get it, you can think about it a little bit and you just kind of do the best you can when you get there. I would say find somebody that you trust who you can talk through it with, and then you will find out that you're probably not alone. And then they can probably tell you and frame it a different way to show that you're actually doing a good job. And if you find that you're maybe falling short, maybe some self-reflection on like the areas that you might not be doing so well, because nobody's perfect. Everybody is growing, everybody is always becoming. If you take the time to reflect on where you can do better, you can start focusing your attention into that area. Oh, I see another one. Biggest challenge right now is transitioning from a senior NCO to second lieutenant. Oh, that is such a weird space to navigate. I completely agree. But there are so many good things that you have going for you. Going from senior NCO to second lieutenant, you're going to have more years, which is awesome. So you've seen some shit, which is fantastic. It will be weird to be the older one in the group, but you'll be able to mentor people through some stuff, and everybody's going to benefit you being around. And then it is definitely going to be different from you being like subject matter expert to like the lieutenant and learning things, but it will be a bit of a transition. But there's so many advantages. One of the best leader commanders I ever had. He was a master sergeant and then he commissioned, and I got him when he was squadron commander, and he was just so awesome. So I'm really excited for you to have made that transition, because everyone is going to benefit around you, because they always say when you get in to like grab that senior NCO to help you out. Well, that's you were the senior NCO, and now you can help other officers get to where they need to go as well. See another one. Motivating the airman NCOs, a lot of entitlement. Yes, the attitude is, what is the Air Force can do for me versus what I can do for the Air Force and team. I would like to hear a little bit more on that one, because I have the same we have some of the same issues here. I find that you need to show them, like someone needs to hold the line and like help them change their perspective. Like all of the things that I have learned, like someone has like taught me in some way, shape, or form, or we had the conversation. So I would talk to them, figure out why they say that, and then you need to teach them about the things like hard work, grit, and sacrifice. Like you are in the profession of arms. You've signed up to sacrifice for your country. Like the Air Force has given me more than I will ever be able to repay it, but it has come with a lot of sacrifice, in that nothing is given to you. The Air Force owes you nothing. I think having those conversations and trying to teach them how to shift their mind is helpful. And if you find that they are a little too selfish over time, that will get them. Let's see, I was a staff sergeant when I got out. 11 years later, my first unit as a second lieutenant, I had the senior pull me aside and told me, Lieutenant Morris, you're not a sergeant anymore. Hard habit to break. I've actually seen that as well. Sometimes it's a difficult transition between enlisted and officer, because officer, like enlisted, like you are doing the thing. Like you are hands-on, you are making the mission happen every single day. And then as an officer, you're kind of supervising the people doing the mission, unless you're flyer, like obviously you're flying your plane or in doing the operation. But like a lot of us, you're leading the people. So some people struggle with that. And I'm glad somebody gave you that feedback. All right, we got like 7 more minutes because then I have to go. I have a meeting with my boss. I have a meeting with my boss at 9. 2 more questions while you got me.
Hey, ma'am, this is Captain Jordan Edwards. I'm part of IMSC Det 10. My
Nice.
camera is not working right now, but
Don't worry about it. All these
uh,
government computers.
no, absolutely, absolutely. So as life kind of goes on and you grow in rank, stresses and you get put in different challenging situations, and
Yes.
sometimes that can be very, very damaging on your morale and wanting to perform at the best you can. How have
Yes.
you stayed motivated throughout your career, and what would you recommend that we continue to kind of look into to keep us also motivated?
I would say first make sure that you have a way to counter your stress. Have a way, like it can be, I always recommend officers work out 5 times a week, move your body 5 times a week. Do however it makes you happy. Like just make sure that you have that some way to counter the cortisol so you can deal with stress better. And then the higher I've gotten in rank, it needs to be in the morning because that's the only time I can guarantee my workout. But move your body 5 times a day. And then there are just going to be some jobs that suck your soul out. Um, and sometimes they are not fun. Like I am not a fan of staff work. It is not my jam. I prefer working with people, talking to people, and like putting me with an AFI and like now you're the reader of the policy. Like that is not my jam. But I've had to be in those jobs, and sometimes you just have to like do do the best you can and give it what you got. And sometimes it's going to be like a 70% because you're just not that into it. Are you feeling that right now in your job?
No, I wouldn't say that. I went on a deployment based off with me and my current job right now, so I had a little bit of a break, so I didn't get burnt out on what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I had a pretty good transition of continuing my motivation, but it's extremely warming just knowing that even some of our senior leaders are, look, sometimes it's just going to suck. Having
Yeah,
having having
it
that
does.
reality, having that real talk, I think just kind of helps us as we continue in our career, make as well as being able to communicate to others that, hey, you make the best out of what you can, you do what you can. It may not be exactly what you want, but you keep going.
Yep, exactly. Just when it's times like that, just focus on what the end goal is, right? Like, is it retirement? Is it just finishing up your commitment because you have dreams on the outside? Like, maybe your job is draining your soul, but you have something that like lights your soul on fire when you get off work, like a really cool hobby, like whatever you can do to make it through the day. And then just make sure you have somebody to talk through with it because it can really get you even in this job. Like some days are just really hard, but I like failure is not an option in my mind. So it's like, okay, well, we just gotta put in the hard work. And then sometimes having the perspective that somebody's always got it worse than you helps. Like my husband Scott reminds me how my peers in the army right now at the same rank are literally working longer and harder and have more just like a crappier experience right now. He's like, you're in the AC, because sometimes, well, not lately, it's been like a really hectic past few months and especially the past few weeks where I've been working 12, 14-hour days. But he's like, you gotta come home at 6. Like your life is awesome right now. So he tries to keep things in perspective. And sometimes if someone tells you that, it can feel a little bit condescending, but if it's from somebody that you trust, like it's helpful.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate your insight.
Good luck. I'm glad you had when I came back from a deployment, it was really hard for me to get back into the groove because you're so close to the mission and you feel like you're participating in it a little bit more. And then sometimes coming back, there's a bit of a transition period, but you'll find your groove.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, one more. And if not, we can close it out. You can always find me, like my email is always open to all of you. So please, anytime you have questions, let me know. We are all in this together. Leadership is a team sport. Make sure you find your people who can help you get through it. And if you need somebody to talk to, I got you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Absolutely.